Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 1 versus 1 on Shchedrin, and I'm going to be playing with the 358th rifles with the Maverick deployment type. I'm going to be up against Vlad Vexler, also known as Flix. I'm going to call him Flix throughout, and he is going to be using the Verteidigungsbereich Talon and the Maverick deployment type. So this is the first game of the Steel Division 2 League Season 10 Division 2 for me. I am taking part in the Steel Division League this season, and I got bumped up to Division 2 because I was replacing someone who couldn't play. So last season I played in Division 3, which is below this division, so I've managed to move up, and it's definitely put me in a very tough group. My first opponent, of course, going to be Flix today, and we're going to be having 2 games against each other. So this being the first. The game is underway, so let's have a quick look at what's going down here. We have some Maxims, and I've got some infantry guns that are going to be following up. A couple of 50mm mortars on the left-hand side, some Grupa Zaciski. We've got the Strelki DP, we've got a 25mm AA. I've got a couple of BA-10Ms with 2 vet and the T60 there, which does come with the 20mm. I've got a PO2 coming out at the start for some recon. We've got Sapari and Grupa Zaciski moving up onto the hill with a Sapari and a Strelki SVT with the T60 in support. And into the town, some 45mm to cover the roads, Sapari Komroti, Grupa Zaciski, the Strelki SVT, Vizivod and BA-10Ms. So we're going to be coming up here. Unfortunately, one of my Maxims taken out very early on by the abundance of snipers that Flix has decided to use against me. He has the MEK squad and then 2 Scharfschütze squads behind. These Scharfschützes, they are single men. So what I'm going to try and do is get my infantry guns to kill them quickly and then target the MEK, just to cut down on the number of snipers that I'm up against early on. But what is that in the distance? It's an IG-33, and that's going to be ripping through one of my infantry guns early on, but I am able to take out 2 of his snipers at least. MEK here going to be starting to take damage next, but the next IG-33 round is going to come in and spoil the fun. BA-10M is currently trying to engage the MEK, but with the Flak 38105 back here, I'm not going to be able to sustain that engagement. Meanwhile, elsewhere, one of my transports, unfortunately taken out, that was my leader, got killed by a couple of snipers here, and his early sniper strategy has completely ruined my opener and has stopped me from getting troops onto this hill. So, already put on the back foot, but we're going to be putting Grupa Zaciski up on the hill here, and these are very good at close range. They do have the Suomi with the 150-meter range, and they also have the AVT, so they can be very damaging from heavy to light cover in these sorts of areas, and they also have a flamethrower. We've also got a Strelki DP with the 2 vet thanks to the Sapari Komroti. We are going to be coming under from some 50mm fire, so I have to be a little bit careful. We're currently sitting on a 13-11 regardless of the start, so that's pretty good for me. And Strelki SVT have managed to get set up in the town. I think I did lose another unit on the road here as well. Yeah, one of my Grupa Zaciski got sniped by a Breda 47 on that right side because I was panicking all over the place trying to deal with these snipers, and my T60 is also going to get taken out by that one that he's creeping forwards there behind the position of the snipers. So what am I going to do to counter snipers? Well, going to be bringing in my own snipers there to clean out those squads, because his squads are only 1-man sniper squads and my squads are 2-man sniper squads. So I should be able to get the better of them. Unfortunately, I'm pushed out by the Sturm Pioneers and the 50mm mortars here, and then the 47 and the MEK are going to continue to engage those. So in a little bit of trouble on the hill, but as long as I retreat, I should be fine behind the cover. And what I'm going to do, because this is my strongest position, is I'm going to reinforce it and I'm going to try and push through the town. That was the plan. Get the Strelki SVT into position, get the Grupa Zaciski into position, and the Strelki DP, bring up another 25mm so that I can cover for the skies and make a play across the town. So going to be unloading early just so that we don't get sniped by AT guns down the road. It also makes him less aware of this coming because he won't have direct line of sight through the town. Now my snipers have found the Scharfschütze, and I'm going to be able to take that out. You can see that it shot one of my team there, but I managed to get the kill back, so that is good for me. And I'm going to be bringing up some Starkey DP to reinforce the left-hand side. And I've got some Maxims that are now going to be coming here to cover off against the 47. But the snipers are getting on target, so I'm going to be cleaning that up. And the Grupa Zbuczyn have managed to find their way up onto the hill. So it's not the end of the world at the moment. Although I did lose a lot of units here in this initial engagement. You can see my BA-10M dead, both of my infantry guns, my AT gun, the Maxims that I brought up, all died to that initial engagement. Now a BF-109 coming in with a bombing strike is going to kill one of my snipers. I did split my snipers quite well there, allowing one of them to survive. But the Sapori now pushing across with the Starkey SVT, my original forces that I deployed at the start, getting now into position. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, the Starkey SVT going to be pushing up through the town, and I'm hoping to use these to win mid-range engagements, because the Starkey SVTs, they have the SVT. That's why they're called the Starkey SVT. And the SVT is a much better rifle than the Mosin that the Starkey DP have, if there's any examples here. These guys. So you can see this has 0.9 damage, 50% accuracy, 500 meter range, 245 round per minute, and the Starkey SVT 281 round per minute rate of fire, 50% accuracy, but 1.35 damage, much better damage. And with the extra veterancy, they're quite accurate, so they're able to get more of that damage on target. The Starkey DP are still going to do damage at range due to the PTRD, or not PTRD, the double DP that they have. But against like Marine Infantry, which are relying on an MG08 and Kar-98s, I should be absolutely fine in these engagements. You'll start to see me slowly whittle down the Marine Infantry here, and I do have the extra veterancy on them, so I'm going to be taking less damage because of that. So ME410 coming over the top, providing lots of recon for him, but we're going to be forcing that back with the 25. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side here, the Grupa Zbuczyn forced off by 50mm mortars. I'm going to be reinforcing this left-hand side with a couple of T26s and another T60, so that we can potentially push up onto the ridge and kill anything that's in my way. But I'm still trying to make progress on this right side, try and basically clear out the town, because I feel at this point in the game, I'm going to have an infantry advantage between the Grupa Zbuczyn and the Starkey SVT. So, managed to take out 2 units of the Marine Infantry, and now we just need to kill off the KM-Führer, and that should give me pressure on this right side of the map, leaving him with the pressure on the left side of the map. So considering this is a Maverick versus Maverick matchup, every kill matters, and every positional area matters. So as long as I keep it equal, I'm feeling like relatively confident moving later in the game, but this obviously isn't going to help. Him bringing in off-map to try and off-map the right-hand side. Now since that off-map comes in, that off-map plane comes in, I'm going to be starting to spread out my infantry and get quite aggressive here. So you can see I'm pushing forwards towards his units, so that if the off-map lands, it might also pin down some of his units as well if he's placed it like really close to him. So that way, you know, he kind of can't benefit as much from it. The other thing is I am moving a few units back, generally the more valuable ones, so the Superdi Komroti and the Grupa Zbuczyn, for example, moving them out of where I think he's going to place that off map. Now, there is an artillery piece on the map, and you can see it's going to smash that unit right there, the MEK. It is a Morsa. Bringing in the 210 so that I can start to get a grip of this game. My division does have a lot of decent artillery, so I'm going to try and utilize it to give myself an advantage against any of his dug-in units. Particularly against units like this, like the Bordbesatzung. They do have the 3 MG34s, and if they're dug in, they're going to be very difficult to deal with. They're absolutely chewing through my Starkey on the right-hand side there, and going to be starting to deal with the Starkey DP here as well. Because I'm like attack moving these forwards, and then I'm like looking elsewhere on the map to cover in different areas. Currently got Maxim covering here and the Grupa Zbuczyn, not that much. Got some extra Sapori coming up to give me a hand. Now artillery going to be firing on the hill. And anything that's there is going to get pinned down nicely. Going to be getting some shots down the road as well. 45mm in decent positions here to cover the main roads against enemy transports. So we're still 12 to 12, and we're getting towards the end of Phase A. So I'm not completely disappointed with how this has gone so far, and I feel like I have a little bit of a push developing here. But I need to make sure this artillery is like landing on target. And then when it's pinned down the enemy infantry in the opposite tree line, I can run forwards to Strelky DP to find the surrenders. Because Strelky DP, they're not very good at close range engagements, so it requires the artillery to pin them down before I engage this. And then the Strelky DP become useful when they get to the other side of the tree line, and that's the plan. So my Strelky SVT on the right did end up going down, so I'm reinforcing with a few more infantry squads, but I'm getting low on infantry towards the end of Phase A. A couple extra snipers coming in with the group of Zbuczyn. I was hoping to try and get them up on this ridge so that I could help cover off and get some extra suppression onto any enemy infantry that was heading my way. But I can't really just give up the ridge here at all, because that would mean that I give away a lot of positional advantage. So I've got to keep contesting it, and as long as I hold this side, I'm relatively okay with that. You can, of course, maybe bring up an AT gun and pop it on this ridge, but I am smashing that ridge there, as you can see, with artillery. My Strelky DP did manage to get all the way over the top here, and are now going to be engaging his 50mm mortar. So, slowly but surely, firing at one target and then the next with the mortar, now targeting the flak. And here, going to be moving forwards the T60 and the T26 to engage the Shchedrin Pioneer. Shchedrin Pioneer is going to smoke itself off. And now Flix is going to be bringing in his own artillery, so he's going to start to counter battery me. I do have a TU2 coming in. Since my artillery was supposed to be firing at his AA, I was hoping that it would be pinned down so that I could get the bombing strikes off. But unfortunately it is not, and the TU2 does get forced off before it can drop the bombs, and the IL2 was also coming in for a bombing strike onto the IG-33, but that is also going to get forced off by the enemy AA. I shouldn't have really been greedy with this TU2 and gone for the IG back here. I should have just bombed this area. That would have made such a big difference in this engagement, because if I could have pinned the KM Pioneer and the Marine Infantry here, then the Sapori and the group of Zbuczyn could have just ran through and surrendered all of this infantry, and it would have taken off a lot of pressure in the centre there. So a little bit of a misplay on my part, I think. F22 here is trying to use radio to hit the IG-33, its own radio in fact, but is not being particularly effective at doing so. Even though like the fire position was really small in terms of dispersion, it just wasn't hitting the mark. Strelky DP at least do finish off the 50mm mortar on that side, and you can see that I have managed to somewhat get the better of this infantry. I am down to low strength though. My Sapoli down to 1 man, my group of Zbuczyn down to 1 man. I do have reinforcements climbing the hill again, but a little bit of a salient happening here is going to briefly give him a 14-10, but we are starting to get the better of the hill. T60 moving through there. So I really want to kill off this KM Fjorda. If I can kill it, that would be a big win for me, as it takes away any veterancy from future engagements, and he would have to invest in another leader to get the job done. But here comes the off-map. Also, something I didn't point out earlier is the off-map plane came over on this right-hand side, but it didn't actually drop any artillery. So my attempt to dodge said off-map was completely a waste of time, and potentially slowed down that push without even any effect from the actual off-map itself. So my T60 trying to finish off the 50mm, but here we have a couple of infantry squads that do have the means to take out the T60, and they turn out to be Shchedrins. So they do have the Granatbuchse and can engage light armoured targets. So my T60, my T26s are now in trouble in this position, and the off-map's going to land and take out my Saperi Komroti, which is obviously not helpful either. But we still have a strong position in the town, so going to continue to contest that flag. I've got more Grupa Zbuczyn and Strelky DP coming up to the centre, since we are now in Phase B. And I'm going to be bringing up some more artillery, the ML20. So another big artillery piece, 152mm of artillery that can definitely make big punches onto enemy positions. I brought it in over here to reduce the effectiveness of the counter battery that was coming from the left side, because there's a unit here, there's a unit here, and there's a unit here. So if I deploy it over here, they're going to have greater dispersion if they try and counter battery it. So that's why I brought them in on the right hand side. Whilst I don't really need my dispersion to be smaller, I just need our big artillery to help pin down enemy units with suppression, basically. The F-109 going to be taking advantage of my Shulker DP that got a little bit ahead of itself on the left hand side there. Now F-22, a little bit of a mistake on my part. It does start to get counter batteried, and it's just a little bit too close to the road. I should have moved it a little bit further into cover, because it's going to end up getting my Shulker DP unloaded here. It's not a huge deal in the long run, because I can't really push up on this hill just yet anyway, because I don't really have the cover that I need or the artillery that I need to break down his defenses. Because if I just move up right now with the T-26 and the T-60, all that's going to happen is the Shchedrins are going to kill the light armor, and then he's going to have heavy cover to light cover or to no cover engagement, which is going to kill off my infantry squads very quickly indeed. But at least I'm reinforcing this middle position, might be able to take back this flag, bring things back to 12 to 12. The one thing that I'm kind of struggling for right now is a win condition. Now, I can sit on 12 to 12 all day long, but that's not how I'm going to win, because I'm behind in tickets. So I am going to have to hold this hill eventually. Like if I take this flag and then I take the hill, that is 13 to 11 in my favor. And that's kind of what I was counting on at this point, because I do have a concentration of forces here, we've got a concentration of forces here, and I'm still contesting the town flag. So yeah, overall, you know, I can still find a way to win. That was the plan. We've got Zbuczyn. Unfortunately, the one man does get found and taken out, but I've got 3 full strength squads back here, so that's totally fine. We're gonna try and punish him moving across the open by moving forwards my Strelki DP, and I'm also going to be trying to arty this position, but my Morsa taken out by counter battery now. The 152 going to have to take up its mantle. So Marine infantry in the open, no cover for them. Going to get absolutely mown down by the DP and the rifles. Same with this Marine infantry, goes down very quickly to the Zbuczyn. Zbuczyn do get close range, and they are going to be able to get the MG down because they're just sitting in light cover, so able to pin my Strelki DP. Now Maro versus Zbuczyn. This is one thing that I did have to worry about as the game went forwards. It's going to have some decent infantry available, but Tu-2S is going to be coming in on the right hand side to drop their payloads. This one's got the 1,000 kilogram bomb, so it doesn't have to be on target so much. This one has the lighter payload. Going to kill the Zbuczyn. Managed to pin down the Brandenburger here. Force them back. And now more Maxims coming up to help in the mid, because I have been forced out of here due to my opponent also bombing me. So I lose control. The 2 Zbuczyn get taken out, and the Maro clean them up. So Maxim coming in, Zbuczyn on the way to reinforce once again, and I'm still not making a move on the left hand side. Again, I'm waiting for the opportunity to arty this hill, but I only had 3 arty pieces, and one of them's dead, one of them's being pinned by counter battery right now. So, you know, in hindsight, having more artillery might have been a good idea to help out. We're also now going to come under the fire from the massive off map that Toulon can bring in. Thankfully doesn't hit too hard, in a sense that it doesn't kill off any individual squads entirely, so I do maintain pressure over certain flags. But here you can see I'm bringing in artillery, and that's helped me get the pin onto the Maro and the Kempführer before I engage them. So some really strong artillery that helps me out a lot and allows the Zbuczyn and the Strelki DP to take back the center flag. So we're back to that 12 to 12 that I was talking about. Now we just need the 13-11. And if I hold the 13-11 from now, I should be able to win the game. So 1 minute 15 seconds remaining till phase C, then we'll have 30 minutes left on the game, because the time limit in the Steel Division League is 50 minutes. So TU-26 going to be trying its luck. Yeah, just suffers the same fate as the Shchedrins. The reason that I was throwing that up there is because I didn't realize that these were Shchedrins until this point, or until the point in which my Staraki move up here and find out what they are. Like, I just completely didn't realize that it was Shchedrins taking them out, because the Shchedrins, they have a 60mm heat weapon, like the grenade book, so 60mm of penetration. So all of my light armor is vulnerable to them, and it's something that Flix used very, very well. Stug, free kill there onto infantry, not something I'm going to want to let happen. 45mm also under pressure by Brandenburger. Brandenburger really, really scary to deal with. Double vet MG42 squads that are engaging me at range. So yeah, definitely suffering. And yeah, this was the point at which I realized, oh, it's Shchedrins with their grenade boxer, so I'm gonna have to be careful about that now. Like, that's how long it took. The 45mm actually managed to get the better of the Stug 3 here. I originally thought it was the ISU, but the ISU I don't think was in range fast enough to do that, maybe. But the 25mm going to be getting unloaded. Sniper moving up here as well to help support. And now I'm looking for bombing strikes. So I'm going to be sending a couple IL-2s to try and break through and kill the MEK here. And then I've got a TU-2 that's going to be trying to clear out the Shchedrins so that my light armor can move up the hill and take it. Now, unfortunately for me, the 105 targets the TU-2, and then the other AA here targets the IL-2s. And I do manage to get the IL-2s through and take out the MEK, but the TU-2 doesn't really manage to do too much on the hill here. I did end up shooting down the off-map plane that came in on the right-hand side due to the double 25mm, but they only have 2 strikes, those 340mm, 340mm off-map planes. So he probably got the second strike off, and I'm kind of just waiting for that to come down now. T60 is getting the better of the Zbuczyn in the meantime, though. So we are getting some free kills. On the left, we are going to be losing my AA. But here comes that off-map. And you'll see me stop my Avtos short so that they don't just run into that and die. So in the late game, I had a phase C card of Avtos. And that will be okay as long as I kind of play around close range engagements. So I'm going to have to be relatively defensive, let him come to me, and then I can kill his units and then advance forwards. Or at least that was kind of my thought process. But of course I'm still at a 13-11 in his favor, so I can't really afford to be too defensive. Another nice bombing strike here from the BF-109 does kill the Striker DP, forces back the group of Zbuczyn. But I do have the T-60s here that are going to be able to help against the Brandenburger. 47mm does take out my BA-10M. Sniper moves up the hill to see what's up. Brandenburger standing in our way. And things are starting to look a little bit grim at this point, because my infantry is kind of lackluster at this point in the game, as my phase C card is Avtos. So T60 is now moving up, but another Shchedrins appears on the right hand side, and the Shchedrins on the left hand side gets a penetration as well. So still not able to do much. Now this is gun jammed. I'm going to try and move up the Starky DP. I've got the Avtos here ready and waiting. Instead of relying on my artillery, I'm now going to bring in the bombers all at once. So I'm bringing in the IL-2. The IL-2 admittedly should have been just going straight in, but the TU-2 is coming in with the bombing strikes, looking to try and get the 1,000 kilogram bomb off at least. Unfortunately, not able to. I do manage to get the bombing strike off on the left side at least. And the IL-2 is going to be able to get a few bombs off as well. So I'm now going to be going for a little bit of a push with that being the case. And if I can take back the hill, then that might allow me to stabilize. Then I can take back the flag in the town, and we can continue to contest from there. Because I do take out his Brandenburg here. We just got to deal with this Brandenburger, and then we can kind of be back in the game. If I bring up maybe like a couple of tanks or something to help me there, then it might work out. But now there's a Stug up on the hill that's going to force me off. And my Avtos here, I could have probably tried to run it down, but instead decided to wuss out and run down the hill. Yeah, I think if I'd seen that sooner, or like planned for the Stug to be there, then I probably could have just drove the transports closer, and one of the Avtos might have died, but the other one would have then got off the AT grenade. That would have been probably the play. So now, once again, I'm beholden to artillery, and I have one artillery piece left, and it's on 1 health. So yeah, that's not going to last too long. Brandenburger do get taken out once again on the left-hand side, I think that was. I managed to, on the hill, get a couple of the T60s up here, so that's pretty good. But once again, the Shchedrin's causing me issues, and if there was one thing that I didn't expect to be causing me problems in this game, or did expect to be causing me problems in this game, I didn't think it was going to be a Shchedrin's. Of all things, these Shchedrin's really shut down my ability to use light armor in these closer range engagements. The more Grupa Zbuczyn coming in on the right hand side. Got a few of them left. Before I was supplementing with Avtos in less important areas, but now we're down to a 15-9 for our opponent. The Brandenburger, 2 squads now getting machine guns on target there. The Marine Infantry also helping out. The Zbuczyn really not lasting very long. Now going to be bringing up a couple Maxims just to at least hold off this salient. Now, the whole time I'm just kind of playing very defensively. My F-22 here, I was hoping might get a shot onto the Stug, or be able to be useful for artillery, but we're now being counter-batteried there as well. I'm going to take out another Brandenburger on the hill at least, and my bombers are reloaded, so I'm going to have to try and find a place to use those. AA on the right side does get taken out by enemy artillery, and here was my chance for another bombing strike. So Tu-2's going to be coming in, looking for the kill onto the Stug, and hopefully the pin onto the Brandenburger, and then I can kind of charge forwards the Grupa Zbuczyn and try and get some surrenders in. So IL-2 goes for the Marine Infantry, takes them out, bombs away for the Tu-2s. I'm going to be charging the Grupa Zbuczyn really, really close up. Turns out to be a little bit of a bad play, as one of the Brandenburger was just out of range and managed to get its MG42s on target. I was hoping I had it close enough so that both Brandenburgers couldn't use their MGs, but they do still have 8 MP40s between 2 squads, so maybe a little bit of a miscalculation on my part, overrating Grupa Zbuczyn there. But you can see things are definitely untenable at this point, and I'm just kind of banking on one last push on the left hand side. So I'm going to be waiting for the T-26s to come in. It's going to take a little while. Meanwhile, just kind of setting up some defensive Avtos on the right. And what this basically came down to in this game was, I think I just didn't have enough artillery. If I could have really, doubled down on artillery and maybe counter-batteried his artillery, then I would have found more value from it throughout the game and been able to then dominate these infantry engagements by pinning down his infantry beforehand. So, for example, these Brandenburger, they may be too vet and very scary, but if they're pinned, they're just as useless as any other squad. So that would be the way in which to deal with them. Unfortunately, because I didn't have enough artillery, he managed to get the better of me with counter battery, and his support weapons were constantly an issue throughout. Because, again, the best solution for support weapons is artillery. So yeah, I think that's just what it came down to here. Maybe a deck building thing. The T-26 is coming up for one last valiant attempt at taking down Flix, but he's had my number for the entire game pretty much. Like, since the start with the snipers, they really just put me on the back foot. I felt like I didn't really react too badly to them, and that I got into a good position, but at the end of the day, he just outplayed me with the artillery, he built his deck better than I did. And that is one thing that I really struggle with in 1v1s, is deck building generally. So, Flix here, a veteran player of the league and competitive still division. Slowly whittling down the remainder of my units. My Shoki DP trying to hold the range engagement there against all those Citadungs. Avtos on the attack move, ready to climb the hill. And yeah, what I was counting on here, you might think this is a fool's errand, but the idea is that if I can break through onto this hill, and he doesn't really have much behind the hill, then I can maybe rush down flags at the back or something like that, and kind of keep myself in the game. The trouble is, because I'm reliant on Avtos, they're just going to get themselves killed as they come forwards, and the T60s and T26s not really going to be able to get much done, especially since the T26s are struggling with gun depression, like on this ridge. So T60 as well, not even firing its main gun because of gun depression, and that's a real problem that you do have on this left hand side. That's why I'm just like driving it forwards like that. He's going to bring the Stug round. I'm going to try and get my T26s to move up and find side shots potentially. And here we go. The duel of a lifetime. T26 does manage to get a shot onto the Stug, but they're bouncing, so one goes down. This one bounces again at close range. They only had like a 26% penetration chance, but with the second T26 going down, I am going to call GG, as there's only 2 minutes left until I lose. And there we go. That is the first game for me in the Still Division League Season 10, Division 2. Flix definitely putting up a very strong fight in this one. 30 minutes and 46 seconds. And I ended up 1,670 kills, 2,665 losses. So definitely a convincing KD for Flix. And whilst my 210 was very useful early on, I brought it in quite early. Unfortunately, I got counter-batteried. And then I had to start crutching on the TU2s a bit more, which again did relatively well, but overall couldn't really swing the game enough in my favour. I couldn't get enough value out of them in time. The ISU 122 in the town did get 2 Stug kills, which was nice. And the 152, again, getting decent kills with these 152s, but not enough to pay them off. So I think, you know, maybe I could have counter-batteried him earlier on with the artillery that I had, or I could have just had more artillery so that I could have also done that, but more efficiently. That might have been the way to play the game. But this IG demolished my opener, and the pack 47 mils, like the Breda 47s, with all of the snipers early on, killing or unloading my transports in the face of enemy support weapons was really rough. Like, if you see how many, these are all infantry units, or at least these ones are, and not the Strelki, but the rest of them. All the units that I lost in the first part of the game, and it really put me behind from the beginning. And then it's only later on in Phase B that is Brandenburger, Citadungs, you know, they start getting kills in the Maro. Like, his infantry really came into its own, and he had the SK 18 105 mils, which are really good counter battery units to counter my artillery. So yeah, good job by Flix getting the better of the 358th, my 358th. Next time round, maybe I'll learn from this and be able to deal with matchups similar in the future. But that is it for now. That's going to be 1-0 for Flix. There is a second game, so we'll see how we can get on in that one. That's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.